All right, so good morning again, everyone. I'm going to start sharing my screen to show agenda to everyone. So we're supposed to start with feedback from moderators. I think, Dan and Ashutosh.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share?
So I have a couple things that I wanted to share and call out. I'm finding my window. Okay. So on the issue triage, there is a bug reported about API clients with gRPC web equals true constantly gets too many ping errors. This one, the only reason I wanted to bring this up is because there's actually a PR that was opened this last week that I wanted to see. Well, I guess I didn't quite understand what was causing this, and I thought it might be. I don't really remember why I wanted to bring it up. I think I just wanted to bring it up because a second person had said they were having this issue. I think that was literally it.
I guess few folks are reporting similar error. There's a second PR on this as well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of these since 2.8 was released. They never seem to be consistent in what caused them or consistent in like the circumstances. So hadn't really paid much attention to it, but Intuit's been seeing it. And my rough understanding is basically like the client pings the server to say, hey, keep the connection alive. But the client has one idea of how often to ping the server or for how long, and the server has a different idea. So after a while, the server starts saying, hey, bro, you're pinging me too much. So this change supposedly just sort of brings the client and the server into alignment. That's my very rough understanding.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that this might actually be solving this issue, and since it has been cropping up, in their case, with the issue that I flagged, which was the API, the 15707, I need to link it from this this PR probably, but in this case, they just had a reliable way of recreating it. So I thought it would be a good chance to test this PR against it if somebody was interested in taking that on. But
what is the PR?
I guess this is the one.
Yeah, that's the one. Add missing gRPC.
I'm guessing we have keep alive setting option on the client side, and this is basically missing server side thing. So this is, if I'm reading it right, it tells the server expect that client is going to ping you frequently.
Yeah, I'll okay, I added a comment on the PR to match the issue, so it'll be available. So all right.
Okay.
The next one that I wanted to call out is high CPU usage in repo server for plugin detection. This one I wanted to call out because even though we deprecated the CMP plugins in config map, I don't know what to call that feature. Basically, no one was using it until 2.8. Everybody kind of woke up and was like, oh, my apps don't render anymore. So everybody started using the CMP plugins. So any issues that are just related to that, I think are sort of high interest because it is basically a new feature, and we deprecated the old feature, and a lot of people just hadn't used it. In this case, I'm not sure exactly what's causing their CPU to spike because they're not doing they're not doing discovery rules. Like, it's not searching the repos. They actually have the apps specifically referencing the CMP plugin to use by name. So I wouldn't think that discovery would really take any CPU because there's no, like, it doesn't have to search these repos or anything. So I suspect there may be an issue where it's like, maybe it's trying to do discovery essentially before it checks. Like it pulls the information it needs for discovery before deciding if it needs to pull that information. And I've seen this when I'm making CMP plugins, that sometimes I'll get errors about discovery. So I suspect that something is just happening out of order there. So just wanted to call it out because it's another one that I think is, since it's sort of a new feature, is something that I just think we should keep a close eye on.
You can hit
I think-
this even if everything's working by design, because if you don't specify your source type in the application manifest, the repo server, actually, I'm not even sure if it's the repo server. It may be the controller API server. Anyway, some component is going to go and ask every single configured plugin, hey, is this your app? Are you going to try to handle this? Even if we know that it's going to be handled by Customize or Helm, there's no way in the manifest for the system to know that. So it's going to ask the plugin every time.
If I've specified it by name, like I've specified by plugin name, use this plugin in the app, I wouldn't think it needs to do any querying to see if that plugin will handle it, because we've just said, nope, that's the one that's going to handle it.
That's
So I
true
shouldn't be
for
doing
that.
this.
Yeah, that's true for that one app. But if you have any other apps on your system that have nothing to do with your plugin, that you're using Customize or Helm or whatever, those apps are still going to hit the plugin and ask, are you my config management system? And of course, the plugin's always going to say no, but it still takes time for it to calculate and say no.
Even if you don't have discovery rules on your plugin?
Good question. I think the answer is yes, and I think that's because the side of the repo server that is asking that question has no idea if the plugin has configured discovery rules. Only the plugin has that information. So the server is going to say, or the repo server main container is going to say, hey, plugin, here is a 25 megabyte mono repo. And the plugin's going to say, oh, word, a 25 megabyte mono repo. Let's unpack that entire thing. And then say, oh, well, we don't really need all this because we don't even do discovery. This isn't our app. Bye. But all that took a bunch of time.
So if you're not using, let's say you have no CMP plugins configured, Argo CD has its own discovery mechanism for deciding how to render manifests, right? Or is it doesn't have to query because it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go and see, like by default, Argo CD is gonna open the repo and then try to render whatever's there, and it will check at that point.
Yeah, so if you don't have any plugins configured, everything's fast because there's no container barrier over which you have to yeet a bunch of files. And we just look at like the repo server can very quickly look and see, oh, there's a chart.yaml. This is Helm. Done.
I wonder if there's a way that we could hook into repo server with, like when you do it, when you set up your discovery rules, if it could somehow hook it into repo server more directly so that it would be discovered in the same way. Because it is like, as soon if you have 5,000 apps, if you just add one CMP plugin to use for one app, suddenly you incur this huge penalty.
At least we can save on simple discovery rules. I know we send this tarball for safety reasons, but if discovery rule is just a glob, maybe like repo server can do it itself. I mean, it's a simple optimization.
Well, and one other optimization, I've got an issue up already to say, instead of storing the plugin's configuration in the sidecar container, like mounted from a config map or whatever, store it in the Argo CD CM and communicate it over to the plugin at runtime. There's no reason that file has to sit on the sidecar, and that would allow the application controller, the API server, the repo server, everything this side of that sidecar container barrier to inspect the plugin config and do optimizations based on that config. For example, you know, there are no discovery rules. We're not going to even bother with discovery. The other thing that buys you is you can change as a user, you can change your plugin's config at runtime and have that reflect immediately instead of having to change a config map, restart your sidecar, blow the cache. All of that is configured just like the old plugins were configured. I can find that issue.
What you're describing is a proposal that is already written, Michael, or you're suggesting something new?
I've already written it, and I felt extremely silly when I wrote it a while back because I was like, oh, we could have made the transition to sidecar plugins so much easier for people if the config were just stored in Argo CDCM. And it just never occurred to me. Let me find it. Okay, I'll paste it in Zoom. I mean, you still have to set up a sidecar, but as long as the sidecar exists, your config can live somewhere much more convenient.
At runtime, are you mounting that secret up then, like as the config map into the container, basically the sidecar?
You would send the config to the sidecar over gRPC.
Okay, you do it over the API. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So your sidecar is always going to get the latest config up to that moment, up to the moment of the request, I should say.
So wait, would this solve the discovery problem?
It would for people who all of their plugins are configured by name instead of by discovery, because the repo server could just say, oh, there are no discovery rules. I don't even have to ask this app or this plugin. And I think that's the most common case. I think people generally want to specify their plugin by name. They don't want to use discovery rules.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Any discovery rules basically create these penalties. So, around this. Yeah, this is a good idea. And it is like there is a lot of confusion when people develop a CMP plugin. I see so many people who are still shoving those config maps into Argo CDCM or just creating a config map because the spec is a config map that we like shoved into a different object. So it's like, which is kind of awkward, right? So it is kind of confusing to work with. On kind of another note, I've been thinking a lot about how we deprecated this, and in this case, so many users woke up and just saw stuff not working after they upgraded. So people basically like weren't aware of the deprecation, and I was thinking that we might need like some sort of feature. This is probably a feature issue to basically like make deprecation warnings highly visible. So any app that's using something that's deprecated would be like flagged so that people go and start looking at it earlier. Because in this case, when this was when we were deprecating the old way of doing it, users probably would have found stuff like this if they were trying to migrate early. But because people basically waited to migrate until after we fully deprecated the old version, it feels like the spec now we're thinking about it. We're saying that it's not up to snuff. That there's maybe some improvements that we'd want to have, but people don't have the option to go back to the old version unless they just downgrade Argo CD. So
if so a couple things. One, since we're introducing the sidecar, manual admin intervention is always going to be necessary, whether we configure the plugin through Argo CDCM or directly on the sidecar. You still got to set up the sidecar. The other thing is we do in previous versions have UI banners and CLI warnings that print anytime you're using an old style config map. So there was some stuff there, but it obviously wasn't enough.
I never saw it, to be honest. I'm in the group that was like, oh wait, I was still using the old way. Oh,
Can we
And I didn't know until I
maybe-
went to 2.8 and nothing would render anymore.
Can we maybe emit, like you said it, like, you know, this is very application specific, right? So can we emit a warning event for the application? You know, like a shared resource warning that pops up in very visible in the UI, right? That gives you a yellow triangle with an exclamation mark and say warning.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's kind of I think it will, everyone is going to know that there is a deprecation, but it will annoy a lot of developers who cannot do anything about it. Like is not, I thought, I just saw it in the chat. If we had a, let's say we release 2.8 and instead of deprecating feature completely, we just disable it by default, and then admin had to enable it by default, and then admin knows that, at least admin knows that deprecation is coming, and would it be enough?
I
feel
like both.
what-
I mean,
Mhm.
you're right that it would annoy developers, but like that's kind of the point of deprecation notices
yeah,
to annoy people.
I mean, in this case, like developers would be chasing admin and would be telling, okay, when are you going to fix it for us? Like how? Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
okay.
I mean, how
Mitchell, maybe I can volunteer you to create an enhancement proposal since you started in the chat, and then we can just carry on the issue and the discussion from there.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.
So enhancement proposals just go under issues.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. I can do that, and I'll tag you on it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Just a question about this. So it seems like we have this issue right now that we need to fix. I guess maybe should we set some timeline and let's say if we cannot fix it in a short time, like in let's say 2 weeks, should we consider to bring the old style of CMPs back and redeprecate them again once we're more comfortable?
Well, in this case, it's not breaking their Argo CD instance. It's just making it use more resources than seems reasonable. So they're still able to work.
Mhm.
I'm hesitant to bring back the old way. I've seen a few people have issues. This is the first issue that I've seen where it was like, oh, there's actually like a performance issue that's going to be kind of impactful. Everybody else has sort of been like, oh crap, that was deprecated. Oh, my bad. I think in those cases, if they just upgraded, they can go back to 2.7.
Okay.
You know, security patches are there, so
Okay, I agree. So you're saying it's not like affecting everyone, at least people not screaming, so some able to use, some not. Cool. And to be honest, I still I do not understand why is it affecting performance. Maybe we can just dig deeper a little bit, and I kind of understand it uses more resources because now for discovery we need to send a lot of files, but at the same time, like in the same call, so first we need to do discovery, and then next we need to do way more expensive operation to generate manifests. At worst, I expected to double CPU memory usage, but it seems like to be worse. So yeah, maybe there is something obvious. I'm hoping.
Could we-
What if there is a?
could we disable discovery if the name is automatically set?
It's
Like if the
supposed to
name
be
is set
disabled.
specifically, could we just disable the discovery entirely?
That's my assumption. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like this. I just looked into the code, and we're literally saying, is app has plugin specified explicitly? If yes, just use it. If not, then do discovery. So I'm that's why I'm not following. Like I don't understand why is it that bad. So
Because
maybe there
it's-
is something.
Because it's not the app that uses the plugin that's causing trouble. It's all of the apps that don't.
Yeah.
So
So okay, yeah. So we kind of saying, oh, you must now specify explicitly types on everything, not just I agree. Yeah. So we are unnecessary, but it's still fishy to me because okay, let's say we have Okay. So I'm guessing maybe we have a user and they just use plain YAML manifests, and so manifest generation is like nothing. And now suddenly we need to start using, we need to send all those files. So it could be a kind of edge case. Yeah, if a giant repo that has mostly plain YAML manifests and a single plugin, that then new version of CMP might suddenly increase usage a lot. Okay.
Yep, and it's a
If we
mono
had a
repo.
flag that would disable discovery on apps that don't specify a plugin name.
But it doesn't make,
you know what I
then
mean?
it's the whole point of discovery. It's like discovery is a convenience, but we could have a plug, or maybe I'm saying the same. Yeah, maybe we can just say just no discovery for plugins.
Yeah.
Just explicitly specify. Oh yeah, that's a simple workaround. It's like,
Yeah, that would be super simple. And because in these users cases,
Mhm.
they're not using the discovery at all.
Mhm.
But it doesn't. Repo server doesn't know if it's using discovery or not until it checks it. So if we just said, just leave discovery disabled in Argo CDCM, then you can just always use it by name. And if you want to use discovery, you have to enable it. That's like, just an extra flag. Or we can leave it enabled by default, because for most people that, if you don't have 5,000 apps, it's not going to be an issue.
I think I like to keep it enabled by default. And I think maybe those users who are complaining, they just use plain YAML manifests and they won't, that's why it's so cheap for them to use like repo server. It doesn't do much. And okay, I this seems very reasonable to me.
Okay, great. All right, I added those comments on the issue from what you had said, Alex, and then your comments as well, Michael. So we can pick it up from there. Couple of PRs to mention. The category Hacktober label. Hacktober is upon us, and people have been busy. So far, all of these, I feel like this is a group that got together and decided this. They've been adding just examples to all of the CLIs, but it's all different people. So I'm kind of impressed that they coordinated it.
I created an issue with a big list of commands that needed examples.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So most of these are pretty simple and didn't require eyeballs. A lot of eyeballs. I did flag it's PR 15824. It's like 2 down from the Hacktober link. This one is adding output to all Argo project commands. And there's like 20 file changes. There's like hundreds of lines changed here. And it's a real project to go through and review all of these, because you want to make sure that each example is correct. And so I just wanted to request some eyeballs on this. I think this is an easy review, but you just need to look at the detail and make sure that the example is correct.
I should probably actually go back and delete all of the commands that aren't leaf nodes. Because like if you run Argo CD proj, it already tells you what the options for the other commands are that you can run. So yeah, I've seen a couple of these, and I think it doesn't really make sense to add examples at anything but the terminal like command.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, that would, I mean, I don't like, it's nice that they did it. It's just that's a lot to review all the leaf commands off of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, another CMP issue. I just wanted to highlight this one because it's another CMP related thing. This one's in draft, but it's an enhancement proposal to add more environment variables to CMP sidecars. So no action, no action required on this. I just wanted to call it out as another CMP related issue. And so as we're doing CMPs, would be worth just taking a look at what they're thinking in terms of their draft and being aware of it.
This is dangerous. If someone uses declarative management of application, then basically metadata is going to have the whole application. At least it needs to be kind of sanitized. So last applied configuration annotation is going to slip into here. And we just seen a bug, like it's not a bug, but basically shell itself has a limit on how many shell needs to escape all the environment variables. And I think we can just break it. Like if metadata is too big and application spec is too big, those two together might just break shell. So shell won't be able to execute anything. So yeah, this is needs review.
Okay, I made a comment.
What is the use case behind this? Like, what
Oh,
is
it's a good question.
that
I
PR
think-
trying to solve? I mean, why do they need metadata and the spec of the app in a plugin?
I didn't like their use case. So this came from Slack. I forget exactly what it was, but this solves their problem. I think they should solve it a different way. I think they wanted to get like the Git revision of the second source in a multi-source app or something like that. And of course, we don't populate sources for anything but the first source in a multi-source app. But like, I don't know. People trying to introspect too much into the application spec to do things in plugins just is weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, basically you could just set. Now we have like Argo CD underscore app underscore source underscore path. And if we have a multi-source app, so it could be Argo CD underscore app underscore source one underscore path, like, you know, like just looping through. I mean, if that's all that they need, right? I mean,
Couldn't they just have a cube client in the plugin too? Query for it.
That was their first idea.
Okay.
Having an Argo CD CLI in your plugin reaching back to the API server, I don't know, man.
I want to
Yeah,
like
it's-
Kubernetes too, like a cube, like not Argo CD CLI, but like cube client.
Sure, I don't like the repo server being able to talk to anything.
yeah,
Wouldn't it be
I
in their sidecar?
would agree with that.
It's in a sidecar, but you got all kinds of CLI utilities available to you. It's yeah. If it's a 20-person team and you know all of them and you can go beat up people who do evil things, sure. But at any kind of scale, I don't want people doing fancy things in the repo server.
It's nasty. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
Well, can I ask you then a question? Actually, just slight sidebar. So I'm making a CMP plugin right now to do Helm lookups.
I'm cool with
And
that.
I'm mounting I'm creating a separate secret to create the connection configuration, but you're cool with that. That doesn't feel too abusive.
Because you're crafting the service account to have the absolute bare minimum permissions necessary to perform the lookup, I'm cool with it. I know that other people are not going to be as careful as you, so I do hesitate to guide too many people to this way of doing things. But, you know, as long as you have warnings and you're like, people, you really have to make sure that these lookup service accounts are safe, then I think that's okay.
Is there still a proposal out there to move it from a sidecar to a new service? The CMP stuff?
I think Jan wrote something up in a Google Doc.
Okay.
Like project.
yeah, but I came up with something that, you know, makes not supports Helm lookup, but that supports dynamic parameterization in a different way, right? So
No, I was just talking to just instead of having the CMP run as a sidecar, run as a new pod.
yeah, I thought Michael mentioned I would have a doc somewhere, but or did I misunderstand? Was it not my name that was called out?
No, it was a while back. I think you wrote a doc that was like, you know, we could have separate repo server pods for.
Oh, this
project?
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No. Yeah. There is a proposal. I think there is a proposal PR for that. It's not only a Google Doc, it's a proposal PR. There should be. Maybe it's in draft still. I don't know.
Well, anyway, that's it from issue triage for this week. Overall good activity, and thanks everybody for all the merges and oh, the top reviewers dashboard is broken in Grafana. I don't know if anybody knows it's like the fourth link down, top reviewers. I don't know, it just isn't showing anything, so I don't know who has access to that, but it's dead.
It's just because of someone's in the reviewer, that person, the data must have fell off. If you check the reviewers and just do all, I bet you it'll work, or just remove that one person.
Yeah, just drop your guy.
I don't see which one.
Well, you've got everyone checked now, but this should work now. The problem
Okay.
is there was someone who isn't in that list anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I
It's just
should
a
that out. Thank you.
broken
Yeah.
link. Okay.
Basically, just make a new link without that person in it.
Okay, I'll update the stats then. Thanks.
Can just do it now and we copy pasting right this. So maybe it's fixed now. I'm curious. Then is this link somewhere in the doc, or I'm curious. Where
Just
did
in
you get?
each one, just there. So like we
Okay.
just copy and paste it, I think.
Yeah. So now it's kind of fixed, right? If we copy paste it again, it should be working.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Whoops. Right. We used the whole meeting for the discussion. So I guess, yeah, we have time to select a new moderator for next week. Okay. Any volunteers who wants to replace Dan and Ashutosh for next week? Okay, I volunteer. Yeah, I have not done it for a very long time, and so I can be primary for next week. So unless someone really wants to be primary, I'm primary for next week. We still need secondary. Anyone wants to be secondary?
I don't mind.
Sorry, I didn't catch who.
Ishita.
Oh, sorry, I didn't recognize it was. Okay.
Ishita,
Right.
you're crushing it, by the way, on reviews and merges. Good job.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ishita. All right. I think, yeah, I don't see any other topics here, and we almost run out of time, I guess. Okay,
Oh,
anyone?
Ashutosh had an issue, the last under PR.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, Alex, I have a PR.
Let me open it.
I want to discuss. So I don't know if Alexei is in the call. So he's the original author of this PR. So I like this the UI plugin. So just wanted to have a like what the community think of this, and if there any improvement we need to do, like before we start reviewing the PR.
I have opinion. I just, kind of we learn about one limitation of extensions, current extensions. We have the invisible basically, and we heard from our users that nice, we have an extension, but to find about it, people need to do 2 clicks and then they discover a tab. That helps. So, but it kind of, I just see a use case for it to have extension and it's like visible on the first page, but then maybe people click on it and they open kind of a bigger extension. And I'm guessing this PR is, there is no way you can click on the link and get a panel. So
it can be used in a variety of use cases. I don't know if Alexei have some use case to discuss, but I think what I think of one use case is to have some kind of status on which can then link to the actual tab inside the resource.
Mhm. I
So-
think I'm saying it's kind of, I'm already like proposing even, I think I was trying to say it's like super useful. And I was trying to say, oh, maybe we also first class support a panel that is shown when you click on it. You can kind of script it right now. You can have two extensions, and then panel extension has a link on the second extension. And I'm saying, oh, maybe we can go like one step ahead and let people register a panel extension and status extension that also has kind of panel built in. And because I think it's common, I think it's almost
Okay.
all other panels have a link. You click on it and something pops up.
Okay. So you want the
Okay.
panel, like, is it a flyout kind of thing you are?
Yes, at least, yeah, that's what I guess I will comment on this PR and make this proposal.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I think my point is all the other kind of status panels, they actionable. You can click on it and you get this sliding panel that has more information. I think same will be here because it's kind of, you want almost all the time you want to show more information. And this status panel is like a summary. It's very visible to user and you click on it and you dig deeper. Okay,
Right,
thank you
okay.
for, at least that's one feedback for consideration, but maybe it can be
So
even done
basically,
into.
yeah, so the idea is just to basically merge the status extension with a panel extension so they can both be, so the panel can be open with the status and so they are linked together.
I
Yeah.
guess maybe not merging, but it make. Okay, I think I'm kind of. I need to look into code to make like more meaningful
Yeah.
proposal. Yeah, but I was saying thanks for bringing
Okay.
this up, this PR, and I will review it for sure because we learn about it. Like we just work on many extensions, and feedback from users was extensions are great, but there is no easy way to find them. So administrators happy to enable it, and then they need to educate users, tell them that hey, there is a new feature in Argo CD, and yeah, so that's very helpful. And then I think I was trying to say, oh, I was trying to think of extensions we could build, and I was
Okay.
saying additional convenience would be nice, but I want to just take a look at the code and maybe make this additional enhancement proposal or just review it. And so please give me some time to review the PR. I will work on it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Okay, I'm checking if any other topics were added. I think we're done.
Try the RC,
So
test RCs, file bugs.
thanks very much. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, stop recording, and thanks everyone.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks,
See you.
all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.